don't want a nation of thinkers. I want a nation of workers, obedient, compliant, subservient.
This is the mindset behind the American education system. A system built not to nurture free, independent thinkers, but to manufacture obedient assembly line workers meant to keep an industry thriving. For years, teachers have been begging for reform, but while we've been focusing on budgets and books and test scores, something sneaky has been happening behind the scenes. Businessmen are quietly taking over the education system. And what happens when people who are chasing profits start shaping and molding the future of kids who they don't know or care about? Well, let's talk about it. So actually, this isn't a new phenomenon. In the early 20th century, businessmen like Andrew Carnegie and John D. Rockefeller managed to creep their way into the education system and exploit teachers and children under the guise of philanthropy. Now, these philanthropists aren't necessarily here to help cultivate generations of free thinkers and to support teachers and students. All they see is the money. Cold, hard cash, baby. Billions of dollars worth of untapped market potential from a vulnerable system that's desperate for help. And here's the issue I have with these cogs. I can't say for certainty that these businessmen have the best intentions for our children at heart. For children they don't know, they certainly don't care about, who they see as a number on a spreadsheet. But what I can say for a fact is parents and caregivers do. Their decisions always come from a place of connection before anything else. But for some reason, these philanthropists keep getting in the middle of children and parents and shooing parents out of the picture. Now, there are 4 men who designed the system that still shapes our schools and our lives today. It all started in the 1830s with a guy named Horace Mann. He's the guy who modeled American schools after Prussia's schooling model, separated church and state in schools, and propagandized the idea of the state being the father of the child, or in other words, the state as the moral teacher. Horace Mann is essentially the reason why it's considered normal that public school teachers raise our children part-time. And then came John Dewey. John Dewey wanted schools to teach beyond reading and math. He wanted schools to mold attitudes, beliefs, and habits. And his schooling approach was heavily rooted in logic and scientific expertise, carried out by trained educators, with pedagogy backed by research from psychologists and sociologists, I mean, you name it. And so the idea of parents and the local community not being qualified to raise their children was slowly taking over. Parents aren't the experts, okay? The colleges and the state are the experts. So schools, instead of just imparting knowledge, became places where individuals were manufactured and trained over years to be good little obedient factory workers, adequately prepared for this industrial, modern society. And this is where quite literally everything went wrong. Because wealthy industrialists like Rockefeller, who owned oil, and Carnegie, who owned steel, saw the potentials of these schools churning out factory workers and poured millions of dollars, billions in today's dollars, into scaling the whole thing nationwide. The centralized compulsory system became reflective of a factory model of schooling. We have age-grouped or batches of students, bells signaling shifts, rote memorization, and blind compliance, which all mirror the industrial workplace. I mean, Rockefeller said it himself. The goal was literally to design useful workers. And 100 years later, we are still sending our children through this machine designed for a world that doesn't even exist anymore. And what's even worse is modern day politicians are still free riding off of that design. Modern day politicians aren't even trying to hide the fact that they view education as a business and teachers and students as numbers. Our presidential appointed Secretary of Education is a former CEO of WWE who makes decisions about new policy, programs, and reforms for education to Congress. She serves as the president's chief advisor on all matters related to education, and she manages a federal agency of about 4,000 employees and over $90 billion in annual budget. And for someone with that big of a responsibility, Learning on the go is a recipe for disaster. In an interview with Fox, Linda McMahon was asked about IDEA.
Congress appropriates the money that is going through Title I to IDEA programs.
What's that stand for?
Do you know what? I'm not sure I can tell you exactly what it stands for, except that it's the programs for disabled and needs.
Individuals with Disabilities Act, I think. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm guessing. I don't know. I don't know all my acronyms. I've been here for 30 years.
This is my 5th day on the job, and I'm really trying to learn them very quickly.
Right, it's a lot.
So the woman in charge, former WWE CEO, doesn't know the policies she's forming and actively reforming. And this is Linda McMahon at the ASU GSV Education Summit, one of the biggest education summits in the nation, doing such a good job reading her script.
But that there is a school system that's going to start making sure that first graders or even pre-Ks have A1 teaching, every year starting, that far down in the grades. And that's a wonderful thing. Kids are sponges. They just absorb everything. And so it wasn't all that long ago that we're going to have internet in our schools. Woo! Now, okay, let's see A1 and how can that be helpful? How can it be helpful in one-on-one instruction? How can it be helpful in absorbing, more information for those fast learners? It can be more one-on-one directed. And those are the kinds of things and innovations that I want to see continue to develop.
Again, the woman who is actively shaping and supporting our education system doesn't even know what AI is. Okay, she thought A1. She thought AI was A1. And not only are things just questionable on the federal level, but we have these professional development programs that are union-backed and union-funded, designed to lobby politics in education. One example being the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics. This organization has endorsed claims that mathematics has been used historically as a tool of oppression. They frame math curriculums through power, oppression, and social justice lenses. So we're shifting the focus from math skills and the Pythagorean theorem to race wars and activism. As part of their professional development, teachers are encouraged to reflect on their race and their privilege and how that may affect how they teach math to students. I don't think any other school subject could be more objective than math. We're literally learning the Pythagorean theorem, guys. To what extent is the Pythagorean theorem racist? What? And so their revenue in 2021, which was $11.4 million, the NCTM has the funding and scale to amplify this activist pedagogy and influence policy beyond math. And let's not forget about the National Education Association, the national union that has a federal charter. They coach educators on how to integrate gender identity politics into their classroom practice. So the big picture here essentially reflects a broader trend. These business people who want to sell these professional development workshops want to form education in their own subjective way. They want to mold the education system and influence children. Take a look at this video from Union President Stacey Davis Gates.
Baldwin says the children are always ours.
Always. Yes. Always.
Every single one of them, all over the globe. And what comes next is, CTU thinks your children are its children. Yes, we do. We do. We do. CTU thinks all children belong to it, and there's socialist conspiracy ideology. Well, I don't know about all that, but we like children.
It's so wild because they're not even being sneaky about it. Wow. So these people are in our faces telling us, hey, we're totally framing our curriculum politically. And these college institutions are also churning out these activist teachers. This runs so deep, guys. It runs way deeper than you think. And it's always been this way. The education system is broken. No, it's literally rotten at the root. We need to get rid of the whole thing. We need to just throw away the whole thing. And so let me tell you a story that really just drives it home for me. Earlier this year, I had the privilege of presenting at the FETC, the Future of Education Technology Conference here in Orlando, Florida. And the keynote speaker was a man named Guy Kawasaki. He is a Silicon Valley venture capitalist who worked under Steve Jobs and now works for Canva. During his keynote, he was speaking to a room full of thousands of educators about how to lead successful and remarkable students. And a few of his talking points just did not resonate with me as a teacher. One of his main points was get close to the consumer, referring to our children, our teachers, our schools. This is how they view us, okay? We're numbers in a spreadsheet. We are the consumers of what? Oh, their product. We are consuming their product. That's what we do. And Guy Kawasaki and businessmen like him view us as a quick cash grab. Like I said, we are just sitting in an industry worth billions of dollars. Another one of his talking points was, don't tell students to follow their passion, tell students to follow their interest. And you can't tell me that that fell so flat on a room full of educators whose mission, like every single day, they strategize on how to engage students and get them excited about learning. Because apparently passion is too intimidating for children. Let's just continue lowering the bar, I guess. Another one of his points was that, teachers should really evangelize AI. Evangelize is a business term where it's like promote, encourage, spread news, and just spread the word about this product. And so he's like, teachers, guys, you have to evangelize AI. AI is like God. He said, I'm not trying to say Sam Altman's like Jesus or anything, but I mean, AI is omniscient, omnipotent, and soon to be omnipresent. And like, when you're speaking to a room full of educators who have been exploited by all of these EdTech platforms, districts on average have about 1,400 of these EdTech platforms. It's just too much for us teachers. And like, I'm all for the use of AI in education, of course, like, responsible, ethical use of AI, but like, we've seen what technology is doing to our children. We know it's unhealthy. We are literally teaching students who are addicted to screens, literally giving them tablets in kindergarten to work on. And we can just so clearly see that you don't know what it's like to be in a classroom. This guy talking to a room full of thousands of educators, and he's just like totally disconnected. And that's like the summary of what's wrong right now. We have so many people who haven't been in the classroom for years trying to tell teachers how to teach or tell teachers what to do and how to fix it. And it's taking us so many steps backwards. And who does the blame fall on when all of this doesn't work? Teachers. Let's do some quick trivia. What do Linda McMahon, Guy Kawasaki, and union cabinets all have in common? A, none are educators, yet all influence how education is shaped. B, they're part of systems where money and influence outweigh student outcomes. C, they represent external forces shaping education without classroom experience. Or D, all of the above. If you chose D, you are correct. The solution to the current failing education system and all of its problems is not as simple as saying, run it like a business. I mean, we are taking one step in the right direction by eliminating the Department of Education and giving more power back to the states, because that's a step towards giving more power and choice to the parent. But the only thing we need to realize is we can't stop there. We need to continue encouraging that parents take an active role in their child's education, that they understand the tools that they're using, or what they're learning in their health class, or what their teachers are being taught in professional development workshops. We need to encourage parents to go attend local school board meetings, join a Facebook group, get involved with your district page on Facebook, talk to your child's teachers, schedule meetings with your school staff, actually go to your parent-teacher conferences. And to those who are in power making decisions for teachers and shaping education policy, I really encourage you to go to a school. Not to the A schools, not to private schools, the typical inner city public school. And don't just go with your group or organization to like step into a classroom for like 10 minutes and observe. I encourage you to substitute teach. Okay, so here's the thing. I don't think all businessmen are like the bad guys, okay? I'm not some Marxist or anti-capitalist, but there are very real threats to our education system when people who don't necessarily have the best intentions or understand how exactly it's run start to have a say in how education should be molded. If someone's out here selling you a quick fix to all of these problems, they're a scammer. Okay, I'll say it. They are a scammer. Our children are not for sale, so stop treating them like they are. They are more than a number on a spreadsheet. So in conclusion, we may not agree on how exactly to approach or solve this broken education system, but I think we can agree that the current system is failing the majority of students it serves. They say we need to run our schools like a business, decrease waste and cost, and increase efficiency and productivity and output. But what if those very things are harming our students and slowly killing the spirit? I'll just leave you with that question. Comment your thoughts down below. Thank you for watching this video. I will see you guys next week.